Hello lovelies, and welcome back to another episode of Opal Bakes, The Bakes. Episode 2, we are using the pastry cream that we made in our last video, which I will leave suggested over here. And we're going to turn our pastry cream into a very popular traditional French pastry called the millefeuille. I believe it's called a millefeuille, or an Italian millefuelle. So if you are interested in seeing more videos, please like this video and click the subscribe button. So let's get baking. What you will need for the base layers of your millefeuille is some pre-bought puff pastry sheets and a pastry docker. I will leave where I got this linked down below. Next, take your pastry docker and roll holes into your puff pastry sheet. The holes will stop your puff pastry from rising and creating a big pillow. We want this pastry to remain nice and flat for our layers. Then, place your puff pastry on a tray lined with baking paper, followed by another piece of baking paper, and then an oven tray on top to weigh it down. This will ensure that your pastry remains nice and flat and even. Then place your puff pastry into an oven preheated to 200 degrees. And set your timer for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, remove the oven tray and check the colour of your puff pastry. If it's nice and brown, you know that it's done. Also, check the underside. If the underside is nice and brown, that is a true indicator that your puff pastry is ready to go. Once your pastry is out of the oven, get an oven rack and place your sheets on top of them to cool down. As an example of what can happen if you don't place a baking tray on top of your puff pastry, basically the sides come up and your pastry will be uneven, whereas the one with the oven tray on top stays nice and flat. What you will need next is your finished quantity of pastry cream, which I will link down below, and 600 ml of thickened cream. Place your thickened cream into your stand mixer bowl. I don't know about anyone else, but I always find this part a little challenging. Then add 1 teaspoon of vanilla essence and attach your whisk. Set your stand mixer to medium speed and whisk until your cream is nice and thick. Then get a separate bowl and put your whisked cream aside until needed for later. Then, using the same mixing bowl, retrieve your pastry cream that has been left to set overnight and put it back into the bowl. As you can see, it is nice and firm and therefore needs to be re-whipped to make it nice and smooth again. Then attach the paddle and use this to beat your pastry cream till it is nice and smooth. This shouldn't take too long. You can tell when your pastry cream is ready when it is nice and smooth and glossy. Then get the cream that you previously whisked and add just a little bit to the bowl. Then combine with the paddle attachment just for a few moments to lighten up the pastry cream. Do this on a gentle low speed. Then stop your mixer, remove the paddle attachment and the bowl, and add the rest of the cream manually by hand, just a little bit at a time. You want to be using a sweeping motion with your spatula, going from the bottom to the top in a circular motion so as not to knock out any of those lovely air bubbles. Your finished product should be light and fluffy. Then grab a cake board and bring back your cooled puff pastry sheets. Then get some apricot jam and spread some onto the base of your board. This will stop your pastry from sliding. Take your flattest piece of puff pastry and leave it to the side. This piece will be used for the very top of your millefuelle. Then begin your layers by placing a sheet of puff pastry onto the base and adhering it to the apricot jam and spreading a fine layer over the top. Then bring back your pastry cream mixture and dollop a generous amount into the middle. Then get an offset spatula and begin spreading it into an even layer just till the edges. Ensure your layers are nice and even in thickness. Then repeat the process with the remaining layers. Don't worry if there are any chips in your pastry, they won't show. I only use the jam on every alternate layer so as not to make the millefuelle overly sweet. Then bring back your flattest piece of puff pastry for your final layer. And double check that your layers are nice and even. Next, add your pastry cream mixture to the sides of the cake. Don't worry if it gets a little messy here. Do this for all sides. Then, using a clean tea towel or cloth, tidy up any of the stray edges on your board. Then, get a container and use one of your ugliest pastry sheets that didn't make the millefuelle. You will be crumbling this up into little pieces and using it to decorate the sides of your cake. You could also use toasted flaked almonds here. Then adhere your crumbled puff pastry to the sides of your millefuelle. Then, using a paper towel, clean up any excess. Then tip any of your excess pastry crumbs back into the container for a later use if you wish. Then, using a clean palette knife, neaten up any of the stray edges to make it nice and sharp. Then get some icing sugar mixture and begin to sift over your final layer. Place your millefuelle over a tea towel to do this, as this might get a little messy. After cleaning up the edges once again, here is your finished millefuelle with beautiful even layers and a lovely snowy sugary top. After leaving in the fridge, you can enjoy. I wish you could hear the sound here, that crunch was amazing. I recommend using a serrated knife for this. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that tutorial on the millefuelle. This is all that's left of the poor little guy. It was very popular with the family. And please like and subscribe to this channel if you're interested in more baking tutorials, and also check out my weekly vlogs as well for fashion, lifestyle inspo. Alright guys, take care, bye.